my faith when that investment came was just off the roof because I was like, people don't understand. I've been wanting this a year ago, and God says I'm finally ready because I was actually ready.
What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Pretty Girl Progression Podcast. I am your girl, Sherelle. If you are new here, welcome, and I hope you stay. If you've been here before, girl, welcome back. And as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Now, y'all, I have an extremely special guest today. I have been following this young lady via social media ever since I seen her on the hot seat. Not only is she a host, a media personality, an entrepreneur, and she's just overall, I say a Jill of trade. A Jill of all trade, okay? Introducing, give a round of applause to Miss Abeyon.
I love it. Love the intro. Thank you so much for
No,
having
thank
me.
you.
I am like very honored because when I met you in person, I was like, oh yeah, she's the vibe. She is
Thank you.
the vibe, full of energy, full of life. And I could just tell that this is going to be a great episode. So I'm excited. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So I'm going to give y'all a little background, a quick background on how I got introduced. Okay, so I was watching David Shands' Social Proof podcast, but this particular episode was episode 54, The Hot Seat.
I don't even know that.
Now, the thing about this was David came on like super excited and he was like, this is an amazing episode. So immediately it piqued my interest. I was like, oh, he's saying amazing? Because David gives off very brutally honest. So you never know what you're going to get. And I heard your story and you quit your job on air on the podcast.
Yes.
And I cried. So walk us through, how did you get, first of all, how did you get to the hot seat? What made you get to the hot seat?
So before the hot seat, I did Podcast Summit for David Shands for free. I wanted to put myself out there more. So because I was doing a lot of street interviews that were very thought provoking, very interesting, but I was like, I gotta shoot for bigger. If this is something that I want to do, if this is something that I'm looking forward to doing, like I gotta shoot for bigger. So I remember Ron Zell, he is a videographer and he is cool with Dave. And so I was like, Zell, I really want to be like the host or like the live experience curator, I would say, for a podcast summit. Don't got to be up on stage. I just want to interact with the crowd because that is what, one, gives people the most sales. Two, find it more interactive with the actual people, getting them involved and making them feel like, dang, I got to make sure I get my ticket for next year, So who doesn't want all that in a package, including
For sure.
So when I met Dave, the first time I met Dave, not the first time I met him, but when I met him to pitch, I was shaking.
I bet.
I was shaking. And he literally had to dismiss me because he was too focused on Podcast Summit. So I had to I went up to his Creator Club studio. I came in and I was like, David, I want to be your blah, 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 blah. And he was like, wait a minute. Whoa, slow down. He was like, did we have an appointment? I was like, no. And he was like, how about we set up an appointment and get in touch with my assistant and then we'll go from there. I said, bet.
Okay.
So I got in touch with Kay. Kay's the assistant. And from there, David agreed on me being the live experience curator for Podcast Summit. So after that, put those relationships in there, did that. And I was like, dang, I think I should get on the hot seat because in that moment, I was working 2 jobs. I didn't know exactly what I wanted. Like, what is it? What was the final thing for me? How do I it's not even saying what I wanted, but how do I go from getting rid of these two jobs to actually pivoting towards something that is meaningful, that is beneficial for my life, and that I'm
Yeah.
happy and fulfilled with? And so my friend and I got on the phone, and she was like, "You should do it. You should apply for the hot seat." Kay saw that I applied for the hot seat, and literally, I think it was the next day, she was like, "Are you available?" Like, I think 2 to 3 days, she was like, "Are you available for this date?" And I said, "Yes, I will be available." So then that's how I got on it. I left my job early. Literally, the job that I quit on air, I left it early that day to go and be on the hot seat.
Did you even know like what the hot seat entailed? And if y'all don't know, it's all about entrepreneurs, whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or new entrepreneur, and just getting game and I guess getting direction for your
Yeah.
business, right? Did
Mhm.
you really know what
No.
to expect?
No.
Wow.
My friend was literally telling me, she was like, "You should really look at the episodes." And I was like, "Nah, I'm good." I was like, in my head, I'm like, I don't want to. I didn't care to. I'm not gonna lie. And so
Yeah.
I know one of my friends in my friend group, he got on there, and I was like, dang. I did look at a couple, but I was like, I only looked at clips. But I was like, dang, he got you. And I was like, God dog.
Yeah.
I
But
was
the thing I loved about your episode was that you were just so open. You were open to receiving the criticism. And I feel like the moment he gave you the opportunity, you were like, you know what? Let's do it. Like, what made you so confident to actually quit your job on, it feels like live television, but on this podcast, on this
yeah.
platform? What led you to just say, you know what? I don't know you, but let's do it.
I think it was because I knew that I wasn't meant to be at that job for the long term. I knew
Hmm.
my end goal for that job. Like, I knew that wasn't long term. I just wanted something stable because jobs were laying off. And I'm like, I need something. I need to do what I need to do so I can live. So I was like,
Yeah.
I worked those two jobs for my own survival mode. And I
Mm.
was like, I'm willing to have less or work that same amount, but to know that the value is so much more. A lot of people be like, you should have raised the price, and I should have. But once I was full of that excitement that he offered me a
Hmm.
job, because I remember saying to myself, I wanted to work with David one day.
And look at
And
you.
I literally got it. A lot of people think because I said that like previously a couple of days before I had that hot seat, before I even knew I was going to hot seat. So a lot of my parents think like, wow, I'll be out like this manifests really fast. But people don't know, like, I knew David a year ago, and I
Wow.
knew I wanted to work for David. It's just that now it was the right timing because I now have clarity on what I actually want to do. I didn't
Yes.
come to David saying I wanted to be his social media manager, even though he
Hmm.
hired me for that. I didn't come to him saying I want to be a social media manager, media manager. Like, no, I said I want to be a media personality. I want to host events. I want to be the person on the stage talking to the people or engaging in the crowd. I want something in that nature. And so when everything else happened with me quitting my job, I was like, why am I not going to take this opportunity? I didn't feel like David is a liar, that
Mm.
he would just offer me this job and be like, yeah, I really didn't. I thought you were really gonna like, go back and forth with me on like not calling and you weren't gonna quit. Like, I don't believe he's that type of guy. He's
Right.
never showed me that. And one thing I always say, God is never gonna let someone take advantage of his daughters.
Come on.
So everybody will sit there and be like, oh, he's really taking advantage of you. God is not gonna let someone take advantage of me. Like,
I know
I'm a
that's
daughter
right.
of God. I'm a high prize, baby.
Yes.
He's not gonna let someone take advantage of me. In that moment, I was excited and I did what I needed to do. I really
Yes.
did. And I grew from that. A lot of people don't get the opportunities that I have. And so I
Hmm.
took that instead of being scared and being like, nah, I really need this. No, I took it and I worked it in my favor. And there's also other news too that I would be leaving David.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll be leaving David and working for someone who has a bigger global brand as a
Hmm.
PR manager. So thank
Congratulations.
you, girl. Like, this is my first time telling somebody on a podcast for sure, but it was something big and major. I met this person at InvestFest, and this turned into a huge deal for me because
Hmm.
There's something that David said that I will never forget is don't box myself in as a personality. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I need to find my other areas of what I'm good at. And yes, I did do social media manager, but it's not something that I want to be this crazy big social media manager. That's not
Yes.
what I want. I want to be able to use my talents in other places. And when I realized, wow, people really connect with me because I'm authentic. People really
Yes.
connect with me because I'm genuine and they literally see that in me. So I
Yes.
was like, why am I not going out there and talking about other brands, putting their stuff into the light as of just like a representation of just who I am and how I believe in their mission and their value. And what can I do with creating more events, bringing events to life? Like this new role is going to take me to bigger and better heights. And I'm just grateful because I didn't sit
Mm.
there and complain about I don't have the money enough or much more money. Like I didn't complain. I sat there and I
Mm-hmm.
did what David needed me to do. I did my own thing and I asked, like, if David needed any help, like I was a servant. And people
Mm-hmm.
sometimes don't understand, like, you got to be a servant in some seasons of your life so you can get to the bigger picture. And now I'm waiting
Amen.
and I'm ready to go to that bigger picture.
Yes. And let's talk about that. Let's transition into faith since we're here.
Yeah.
Because when I listened to that episode, like I said, I cried because I saw myself in you. You were
Mm.
so authentic. You were so genuine. And coming from me working a 9 to 5, still, but, working on my media, my hosting, my podcasting,
Yeah.
like sometimes your faith can feel heavy and you
Yeah.
can feel like, oh my God, I don't want to serve, this job. But in that being a servant leader, like that's where the blessings, that's where God is molding you
Yeah.
for higher heights. He wants to be able to trust you. So, let's talk about how you went to Invest Fest and you were basically hosting and like being this media personality for brands. And
Yeah.
now you're stepping into that. When you decided to transition or when the opportunity presented itself, walk me through that. Like, where were you at spiritually at that point?
So in the moment, like during InvestFest, I was more so overwhelmed that that was my first gig. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of
Wow.
people didn't know that.
I wouldn't have
A lot,
known.
yeah, a lot of people thought I've been doing this thing for years, but that was my first paid gig from
Wow.
vendors who would want to take a chance on me to bring people to their booth. And in that moment, I felt grateful
Mm-hmm.
because that was the most money I made in a month from just my own business. And I was like, wow, Abeyon, like this is truly a blessing. This stuff doesn't just happen on accident. I don't believe in
No,
coincidence.
come on.
I don't believe in coincidence. Like if it's like ordained, it's ordained for you. And for myself in that moment, it was ordained for me. I
Yes.
was like, it was like if I think about it like this. If I would have said, no, I don't want to take it for that much money with David, right? And David said, well, I can't really go any higher because your qualities are X, Y, and Z. And I was like, no, I'm more than that. And I took it as a selfish, manipulative, greedy person. Then I would have
Mm,
never gotten to the point where David could give me advice about InvestFest, tell me how to pitch myself to vendors, to the point where people actually started reaching out to me and wanted to hire me. And that is literally like maybe 2 weeks before InvestFest actually started.
wow.
Been able to get my ticket paid for, get free tickets for my videographer, free tickets for myself, and be able to do my job as a brand. Getting
Yes.
connected with the I knew Michael Donald way beforehand, but being connections like that,
Mm-hmm.
like these are connections that I'm building. So it's like if I would have never taken that opportunity, it would have never got me to that point. So
Yeah.
my faith level was so high because I was like, I was thanking God for all the things that I prayed for to where I'm at now. Like
Mm,
if you would have asked me January, literally January of 2023, I would have never thought I would be here. It would have never crossed my mind because my
yeah.
life was truly in that moment of last year. I was getting saved. I was going through my relationship with God. Like I remember being in my church for I just hit a year. So it was like in
Yeah.
2023 in October, I was just getting like real serious about God, being more prayerful, being a prayer warrior, like getting right with myself,
Mhm.
and not going back to my carnal self in the past that brought me so much pain and hurt from
Mm.
men that I used to deal with, from people that I let just be like, walk over me. And, I always had a forgiving heart, but that doesn't mean it
Mm.
never hurt me truly inside, you know?
Right.
So in that moment, out in January 2024, I was still like, dang, I'm still battling things, but I know I'm getting better and better. I'm being more prayerful in my life, in my word more, and all these things.
Mhm.
And so it's like my faith level, yeah, there's like these stumbling blocks that I may have. Yeah, there might be moments where I'm like, dang God, like what's going on? But I just truly believe that like the way in the word where how he says that I knew you before you were in your mother's womb is so
Yes.
true. It's so true. I give thanks to that he knew me before then, the spirit, my heart, my life before then. Cause he knew
Yes.
exactly what I needed and he walked me through like gave me provision through the hard times and things of that nature. And so my faith when that investments came was just off the roof because I was like, people don't understand. I've been wanting this a year ago, and God says I'm finally ready because I was actually ready.
You were obedient too.
Yes, I was
For
obedient. I
sure.
was actually ready. He can't put
Yes.
me in a spot to where I'm not ready. And I learned that a lot. Like this doesn't like when I say this does not happen by coincidence. Like he doesn't put me in a spot that I can't be ready for. Because if I'm not equipped, then I'm not going to be able to prosper. I'm not going to be able to help others.
Yeah, facts. You talked about provision, and I always say, like, God always sets it up. And I find that when we're on the right path and we're doing what we're supposed to do, it's not going to always be easy, but
Not
God will literally place that thing in your path where, I was just talking to my boyfriend earlier, and he was like, "Oh my God, I have this tool that you can use for your set, and I've had this for 3 years. Who would have known that right now I'm actually using it for you?" And I'm like, God already set the provision. God already knew that this was supposed to happen, and it always happens that way. It's not going to be perfect. It ain't always going to be easy. But if you could just take that step, God is like, okay, here's an alley hoop. I got you. And I just
Yep.
love that you speak on that. And
Yeah.
just the fact that you took a leap of faith doing not just podcast summit, but InvestFest, girl, you look like a full professional.
Thank
So, okay, so talking speaking on faith, right? I
you.
went through your social media, and when I say Napstar ATL, what do you think of?
Napstar ATL was an okay environment,
Mhm.
but something that I knew I needed to outgrow.
Mhm.
I knew I was meant to be an entrepreneur. I knew I was meant to do it myself on where I want to be, where I'm trying to get to. And Napstar ATL, a thing I think of is literally it's the past, but it's also a
Yes.
step stool.
Yes. You did a video, and I love this video. It was a video of you talking to yourself 2 years ago. And
Yeah.
you were affirming yourself. You were like bigging yourself up. You were speaking to your future self. Can you talk about how important it is to really speak life into yourself and talk to your future self?
It's really important. When I saw that video, because I totally forgot about it myself, but I'll be so glad when I make videos like that because it's not just only for show, it really is for me to look back on. Girl, I got
Mhm.
voice memos because I love voice memos. Like, I got voice memos in the past about
Me
my
too.
emotional diaries and how I felt and who I was. And I
Oh,
was like, wow, that is not the same Abeyon.
yeah.
Abeyon has grown from that. Abihan has literally told herself that you will get through this, you will move forward, and
Mhm.
actually have done it. And it's
Yes.
so much more peaceful when you know you've done it correctly. It's so much more peaceful when you have God on your side. It's so much more peaceful. And so when it comes down to Napstar ATL, it's a pass and it's a stepping stool for me. I took
Mhm.
that leap of faith because I understood there was a bigger assignment. And when even before, and most people don't know, but even before Napstar ATL, I believe I was working at Home Depot.
What?
Yes.
Love me a good Home Depot,
Yeah,
okay?
right. I was like, I was literally working at Home Depot, and I had people from Home Depot, which were years ago, more than 2, 3 years ago, like saying, Abeyon, you really are doing it. It is
Yes.
so crazy to see how that setup was. Because I knew me. I knew me. I was a girl that get bored out of a job.
Girl, me too.
I get bored so quick out of a job. Like I give it like 6 months, and I'm like, all right, I want to meet some new people. I love for myself, I love a productive busy. I love
Mhm.
being out, but like not out in the streets. It's kind of in the streets, but in the way of professional conferences, networking
Yes.
events, things of those nature that is gonna build me up inside, but also helping me to build others as well. And
Yeah.
so it's beautiful to see how everything flew, how everything had to come together. Like it is
Connect the
beautiful.
dots
Yeah, it connected the dots well.
for
And I'm like,
sure.
I loved it.
So would you say like your spirituality is now tied into your career?
Mm. I always ask God always to give me strategy
Mhm.
in my career because me being a media host can be in so many different ways. But I know some things I know that are not gonna glorify God, and that is okay, being a media host at a club. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like I don't even like clubs. Or being a media host at like a stripper event, stuff like that that I know that is not of me and who I am.
Yes.
So the way I say like I do feel like it connects because I don't get conviction from it. And if two, I
Mhm.
always say like, God, place your desires in my heart and get rid of mine.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that I am doing this correctly and so that I am not idolizing this. I am not putting it only solely on just money. Like I see so much more than me just being, yes, I'm a media host, but like there's so many prophecies I've gotten to where I saw it like me helping children build their confidence up.
Mhm.
Being their authentic self. Some people feel like they gotta turn on a switch, and I'm like, I'm really not that. I may turn on the switch where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm about to get these questions. I'm about to go into this like boss girl mode, but it's never to the point where you will see a different person.
Yeah.
Like you will always see that light in me. You will always see that shine in me, like because that is naturally how I am. And that naturally just shows to people who want to approach and talk to me. I'm not one of those girls that's gonna be like, excuse me. Did you have a
No, and
moment?
you give that. You give that.
Yeah.
And I really believe like in this higher time, like authenticity matters. You're going to
Yeah.
attract your tribe even more when you show up authentic. When you're faking the funk, your people not going to be able to find you and God can't even recognize you.
Exactly. Oh, I
You
love that.
know?
I can't even recognize you when you trying to
Yeah.
fake the fun.
Listen, I put on my whiteboard a while ago. There's so many things I have on my whiteboard from like brand deals and like apparel and
Hmm.
just things that are aligned with me. And I made sure I was like, God, like if it's for me, it won't pass me. May everything that I touch be aligned with what you have for me and where you
Yeah.
want me to go. But I want you to recognize me.
Hmm.
I can't do this alone. And I couldn't even imagine doing this alone, especially when you have to being in media, you have to give a lot of your energy. A lot of your energy. And let's speak on that because I struggle with this sometimes.
Hmm.
I find myself not taking opportunities because I'm like, "Oh my god, my energy is just not there right now." So how do you even replenish your energy when you have to give so much to other people?
I take the time for myself.
Mm,
It's simple. Sometimes there may be moments when I am tired, but you also have to understand like you may need to do it because you never know if God put you in that position to help someone else.
yeah.
And sometimes it's not all about us.
Yeah.
So it's just taking the time. Yes, we have always divine rest into God. And I
Mhm.
believe like when he tells us to sit down, we will sit down.
Yes.
100%. But
Or he'll sit us down.
yeah, he'll sit us down. Like he will literally like be like, okay, I told you this, but you keep doing this, and I'm telling you to sit down.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just genuinely taking your time for yourself. Like, remember, God was 100% man and spirit. So
Yeah.
he knew what it was like to be tired. He knows what it's like to do all these things. So it's just making sure that like, okay, you still take care of yourself. You still have to rest up himself. But don't take it for granted where you're to the point where it's like it's becoming like oh, I only take certain gigs when you're really there to help someone else, to be a
Mm,
blessing to someone else.
I received that.
So
I received that. So you being in Atlanta, I don't know which part of Atlanta, right?
mhm.
People always say Atlanta's not a real place. I don't know why they say that. I've been to Atlanta a few times. I lived in Griffin, Georgia for like 3 months.
Mhm.
But talk about being a Black entrepreneur in Atlanta. What is the scene
Mhm.
like? What is it like being a Black entrepreneur in Atlanta? I know Tyler Perry Studio is there. Like, what's going
Yeah.
on in Atlanta?
Um, I think it's fun and interesting, and you just really have to know the right people and have discernment of the right people for your
Hmm.
tribe, for the people you need to connect with. Because, in all honesty, I don't want to be the girl that's up in everyone's faces.
Okay.
I don't want to be. I don't care to be. Like I
Hmm.
always ask God, just point me in the right direction. Get me to know who I want to know. Because sometimes in Atlanta, it could come down to people wanting to take advantage. People just
Mm.
want to be seen, or people just asking you so they can get close to you. Like a lot of people will ask me, like, well, hey, like, you're near David and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that I'm not willing to help out and anything like that. But just as much as like I had to put myself out there in front of David to recognize me.
Ooh,
It wasn't me just sitting here being like a handoff. It is not saying a handoff is always the bad thing, but it's just more so the fact of like you're not gonna just be silent for 3 months and then come up and talk and be like, oh, I want to work with David. How can I? Now that you
facts.
see me doing it and we haven't talked, like I just think sometimes we live in Atlanta. We live in a society where it's like you gotta know everybody and all these things, and I'm not that. I'm not
Yeah,
that girl. I want
I
to know
love
the
that
people that I
sport.
want to know. There's a lot of people that I was like, dang,
Hmm.
I love this girl because she does it. Like I don't know if you know Anissa. I think her name is Anissa Bernay, but she's very popular in Atlanta when it comes down to being a personality. And me
Mm-hmm.
being able to build a relationship with her is so I'm really excited about it and got connected with her. But the way I got connected with her was literally through a friend that I genuinely have a connection with.
I love that.
I was like, he could have easily told me no, but he knew my heart. He knew who I am as a
Yeah.
person. He worked with me before. He was like,
Hmm.
well, I know she's just not in it for just bread. Like, no, like I truly didn't want to learn because she's at a place at her stage of life in her work that I want to be at one point. And I want to be able to have that knowledge, that mentor, that help. And
Abby,
so, yeah.
I didn't want to cut your wisdom. I was gonna say, even in Miami, some people always reach out and they wanna be in the circle because they
Mhm.
want, like they want to know who's hot, who's popping, how
Yeah.
can they get on. But a lot of people don't have the heart to be in that position. It might look like glittery and golden, but it's really hard work. And have you ever been in a position where you did put somebody on and they failed? They
Mm.
dropped the ball and now it's on your hands. Like, damn, you did refer them. So now that's your name.
Um, I don't. If I have, can't remember. I don't because in my eyes, I don't feel like I have done that to have gotten that before. So
Hmm.
where I've given somebody a referral and they haven't done what they needed to do
I
because
have,
in my
girl.
eyes, I would have already vetted them. I would have
I
already vetted
have.
them just to be sure.
Yeah. And we try to vet people as best as we can and then they
Yeah.
get in the position and it's like, "But you said this is what you wanted. You said
Yeah.
you were working on it. You made it appear that way, but that's
Mhm.
always like how it is.
That is
It,
true, and also to the point where it's like you also got to understand if they're just doing it for the money of that referral and not just doing it. And I'm not saying like, yeah, you want your bread, but like at the top of the mark, you still go to do the work.
mhm.
And don't get me
Y-
wrong, I've been that girl that been lazy. Listen, I have my lazy days a lot, okay? And I'm
Yeah.
never ashamed to admit it. But it's never to the point where I will sit there and somebody has referred me and I want to put it on a bad rep of myself. Like I just can't. But some people will always be like, be greedy for the money and then don't want to do the work. And they'll be like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's because I need money. But I'm like, if it's not in your job description, sweetie, then it's not in your job description.
Fendi
You move
facts.
forward.
Fendi facts. So I want to transition into womanhood. So
Mhm.
what has been the transition into womanhood like for you and on your personal growth journey?
Um, that's a good question. The transition, I feel like when you say transition, is there really a transition or is just the process and the journey of it?
Oh,
You're always evolving in your womanhood.
yeah.
Like for myself, evolving in my womanhood was being more kind to myself, having more boundaries for myself, um, more confident on who I am, what I want in life, and through also a sanctification process through God.
Yeah.
Like that's how my hood womanhood has been evolving into now like have my own place when at the age as I was before was 23 and now I'm 24. I just turned 24 in November. So
Yes.
it's
Happy
like
belated.
I thank you. I would have never thought I would have gotten here. But God made a way for me to get here and I'm very super grateful and thankful. And
Is this your
so
first place?
yeah, this is my first place.
Oh my, so you guys to pay your bills on your
Yeah, I
own.
gotta pay my
You got
bills
to
on
make sure things
time.
are
Girl. I was like, oh, this is real. This is
yeah.
real. Um,
But it
but
gives you that freedom too, you know. I like when I had got my first place, I think I was like 18, real 19,
mm,
and I was scared as hell. I was like, "Oh my god, I have to remember to do all these big girl things by myself, you
yeah,
know. I got to watch my like surroundings." It just was a whirlwind cuz for me, you know, my mom, me and her don't have like a tight knit relationship. She's had
mhm,
four of us by the age of 17, me and my three brothers. So she really didn't know how to mother. She did the best that she could, her and
yeah,
my dad. So I had to learn from other women on like, you know, how to take care of myself and move, and I was not prepared. I was just
yeah.
was not really prepared. And I know that you mentioned you have a good relationship with your mom, and like I see your process through social media. Like what tips is she giving you on this journey?
My mom has always been a big help in my life, but I cannot lie, she has spoiled me so much.
I love that.
So it's like it's a blessing, but I remember another way of me evolving as a woman was me not being so selfish. Was
Mm.
me not being conceited. Because I can definitely tell you 2021, 2020, 20 till 2022, your girl was like, even before then, your girl was like, what, there's no such thing as no.
Okay. Is that
Yeah,
a
like
bad
that.
thing though?
I think it's a bad thing when you take it for granted.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think it's like, okay, Abeyon, but if I say I can do it later and you're still saying there no, but later still right now still means no. In
Mm.
this moment, then it's taking what that person is doing for you for kindness, you know? And it's not saying that they're saying like a full complete, it's just not right now. But it's still to me, it felt like a no.
Yeah.
So that's another way of evolving that I had to honestly unlearn in my life. Um, my mom, she's always giving me tips on learning how to take care of myself, treating my body well, all those things. And
What's one of the greatest advice she's given you thus far?
oh my gosh. One of the greatest advice, mm,
I know your mom gonna be watching this like, yeah, baby, tell me.
yeah,
What you been listening to?
one of the greatest advice is that never love somebody for only for what they have, but what they can not only for what they like have, but how do they truly provide for me spiritually, mentally?
Mm,
Because physical is just 5% of that.
facts.
And
That's great
so
advice.
exactly, spiritual I mean, physical is only 5% of that. So what are the other things that they can provide? How do they pour into you?
Yes.
You know, it's not all the time it's about the money. What is the love like? How do they
Yeah.
treat their parents? And she always told me the ways to look out for who is like genuinely for me.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I would say that's one of the greatest advice I got from my mom.
That's great because that goes into even like your platonic relationships, your romantic
Yeah.
relationships. And I think our platonic relationships, especially with our friends, matter so much.
Yeah.
Being aligned with our friends and like
Mhm.
equally pouring into each other.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
It's
That
a lot. It's definitely a lot. Like
yeah.
and it feels good. Like a lot of people see my friend group, my big friend group that I have, and I love them. I love them. And I understand, and it's so crazy how we all say the same thing. We've all had prayed for friendships like this.
Mm,
Not the friendships that are conceited or don't, or the people that get out of their group chat but don't make it back to the same
mm.
place that they left. Like, no, like we genuinely have a heart. We genuinely have meetings with each other to grow each other's business. We're all learning God. We are all like growing and evolving. And it's so crazy. Everybody's at a different age, but we all just know we're at this point of like this friend group will go so far because we were here from the beginning
Ooh.
of where we were, whether it's through the trenches we were together, like it feels good because one thing about my life, I always had a lot of more older adult friends, and I loved
Okay.
it. I'm not gonna say I didn't love it. I love the advice, but sometimes you need that person that be feeling the same thing you be feeling that's really
Yeah.
in the trenches with you. Um, and that is the friend group that I have now. Like we help each other. We have literally group chats for different things, like workout accountability group. Anybody
I
want to
love
come
that.
join that? Our big group message where we talk about more than just it's not about gossip. It's not about um just stuff that doesn't matter. Like just nonsense. It's about our lives. It's about what we're trying to work on, what we're trying to do, but also how we can still pour out our feelings and still be vulnerable.
So I have a two-part question. First, I want
Mhm.
to ask you, how do you maintain those friendships?
Mm. So the way we maintain it is we still give each other our spaces. We're
Mm-hmm.
not treating it as a this deep relationship of we need to text every day. We don't.
Okay.
We don't. We can give each other spaces to be like, okay, this is what I've done within the week. This is what I'm trying to focus on. Here's what I'm trying to do. And also, we don't only just talk about work. I feel like we get caught up with saying, like, if they're not talking about goals and all this stuff, it's like, girl, I want to have some fun.
Okay.
I want to have some
Yes,
fun too. Like
absolutely.
not everything is work because at one point we were that. We were that group. Everything had
Mm-hmm.
to be about work or it could be like, "Oh, I can't right now cuz I'm trying to lock in." And I said this in the group chat before and they remembered it. They was like, "I I said, I thought you locked in like 6 months ago." So what you
Gee.
lock in, you gotta lock in and lock in again and lock in and lock in instead of actually enjoying our lives like I
Wow.
don't believe in a hustle culture when you're with God. When you are obedient with God, when you are in like in alignment with God, like I don't believe in that hustle culture. I believe like, yeah, you may have days and nights when you are staying up late because you're so passionate about the business. Probably God is downloading things inside of you, but never to the point where I'm feeling like I have to hustle and bustle and be in survival mode every day. I'm not doing that. I don't
Wow.
a lot of people be like, "Well, you wanna enjoy your fruit and your labor in your 30s." I was like, "Why can I not enjoy it now?" It's not saying that I gotta take many trips every year. One
Yeah.
trip or 2 trips with my group of friends is something that'll last a lifetime because it's full of memories,
Yeah.
it's sincere, it's thoughtful, and so, like, we maintain it by not only just focusing on like we focus on many aspects because oh my god, this reminded me of something.
Hmm.
One guy, when I went to change church before, and it was a young adult night, he said, "A friend is not a friend who can only help you with one thing. They're specialists."
I love that.
And I was like, "That's exactly." that's exactly what I don't want. I don't need
Wow.
my friend group just to only be specialists in my life. If I need
Wow.
someone to talk to and pour out about like a situation, whether it's with a guy that I'm having a problem with, or I'm like, I'm frustrated on how I deal with this thing about work, or how do I move in my journey? Like, there's so many things we could talk about within the friend group that
For
it doesn't
sure.
just stop in one.
Yeah.
So
Oh my,
that's
I just love that. First of all, I love that you're so centered. Everything, if y'all notice, like you're always going back to Christ. You're always going back to
oh, don't do
source.
that.
And I love that. You
Like,
ain't never gonna get tired of hearing. I don't ever get tired of hearing that,
no.
like I just feel like you don't love God. We love him
Yeah, I'm
too.
like, you need to try them. You
Okay,
need
you
to
need to try him.
try them.
Seriously.
Try them, take it seriously. Look, I
You know,
definitely give the glory to God because
okay.
without him, I'll sit there and be like, my life could have been so different.
Yeah,
If I
yeah,
kept being of this world, my life would be different than where I am right now. If
for
I wasn't
sure.
obedient and disciplined, purging the things, sanctification, all those type of stuff, my life would be totally different. And I would probably be still stuck in the same mindset of, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't have no peace. I'm still dealing with the same people that I shouldn't be dealing with
Mm-hmm.
that I know are bad for me, but I'm sitting here settling because of the fact that that's what I feel like I already know and
Yeah.
I don't want to change. Like, no, like I give the glory to God because I'm like, I'm a true testimony. A lot of people don't
Yes.
understand what I went through in my past to where I'm at now. Like, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people don't understand how much it has affected me before I met God into now being in Christ. Like,
Mm.
a lot of people don't know I'm a walking testimony. I'm an open book and a walking testimony. I tell people right away, now we gonna talk about God over here
Okay. I'm the
because
same way. I feel the same way. What advice would you give to a young girl who feels like, okay, I don't necessarily know Christ. I don't have that relationship with God.
mhm,
I am where I am right now,
yeah.
and I don't know where to go from here. What advice would you give to her?
I would tell them to talk to God. Not in a way that you have to be the holiest of holy, saying like, "They're out thou Father in the name of Jesus." Like, no, like genuinely take a moment to yourself and actually be like, "Hey God, I'm I what would you say?" I would say in the sense of like, "Hey God, like I've heard about you. I of course I don't
Yeah.
know you, but I know of you and I need strength and I need that faith. I want to believe in you."
Yes.
Genuinely have that conversation because most of the time people will sit there and have their heart turned away
Mm-hmm.
and not
Mm-hmm.
truly give their heart out, like pour their heart out. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to that person, they're the ones that got to face the four corners of their house.
Oof. Ain't that the
Like,
truth?
no man, no group of friends is going to fill that missing void inside of you that you constantly battle in silence with.
Yeah.
So it's like if you actually have a natural conversation, a genuine conversation, not looking for something but actually seeking him. The
Yes.
one thing God says always in a seek me.
Yes.
He does that all seek me. He's not gonna hide from you. He wants to be found. He's like, I've been
Absolutely.
waiting on you since this time. Like, I've been waiting for you.
And I always say God is such a gentleman. He is
Mhm.
not going to push himself on you. He's going to be right there waiting for you, opening
Yep.
the doors, giving you that little whisper. It's
Yep.
always that way. And when because I've gone through so much in my life, just like I'm sure you have. For me, it was sexual abuse. For
Mm,
me, it was having super young parents where I feel like my parents literally failed me. But through grace, through finding God, they were just the vessels to get me here. And I thank
yeah.
God for that, at least.
Yeah.
Everything extra in a sense was a bonus, I guess. I'm going to therapy. So my therapist is like, but they should have been there. And it's like, I hear you, but, still trying to work that out. But God really connected the dots for me and was just like, I got you. You gonna be okay. And it's
Yeah.
hard, but that talking to him in a way that you only know how at that time is all you can do. Whether that be like, Lord, is and I don't even know what to do right now, but I need you.
Yeah.
I'm calling for you. And if you are here, Lord, just comfort me. Give me peace right now. Because sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
just that peace. That's all you need to get through the day. And if
Yep.
that's what you have, accept it, allow
He's
it.
gonna
And
know by your heart, not by the word.
yes,
He knows by
yes,
your heart that you want to change and
yeah,
what you're dealing with. Like,
yeah.
it's not about your works. Like, you got people who've been in church for like 20, 50 plus years, but still don't get revelation from God.
Facts.
Like, still don't have that revelation, still don't have that connection
Yeah.
because they're so used to this. They're so used
Mhm.
to being like these beggars or being like, this, like, no, like, God wants you to be real just as much as He real with you in the Bible. Like, be
Yes.
real with Him.
Yes.
It's a relationship. And what I want also people to understand, like, there's so many ways you cultivate that relationship.
Mhm.
Not every day I do a hard Bible study. Maybe I'm doing a prayer walk and I'm just walking and I'm just talking to God. Maybe I'm just driving in my car. Not
Yes.
all the time, but just like a regular relationship, you want things to keep it interesting and
Yeah.
fun and make it more like, yeah, like I'm really excited to talk to my father today.
Yes. I'm telling you, and God will meet you wherever you
You
are.
are.
I've been listening to the NDE experiences are like near death experiences. I don't know. I've been fascinated by it on YouTube. And every single person that I've listened to always say when they, go to that light and they come back, they always have an encounter with God, with Jesus, where it's always, you're going to be okay.
Mhm.
You're going to be okay. I love you. Every single experience from a person who is a non-believer, who's never had a
Yeah.
conversation, to somebody who's reborn again, it's always, you're going to be okay. Go back and tell everyone, I love them. The prostitute, I love her. The drug dealer, I love her. The sanctified Christian, I love her or
Yeah.
him. You know what I'm saying? And that always gives me comfort that no matter what you've been doing, God loves you. Now, don't go out acting a fool now,
Yeah, like don't be
because karma's
don't can
real.
exactly
Mm-hmm.
don't get continuously to be lukewarm. Once you have that encounter, you have
Yes.
to change your ways because God will spit you out.
Yeah.
God
And
is
you're
the
gonna want to do
Christ.
better.
Yes, exactly. You're gonna want to because you're gonna see how much the difference you feel.
Yes.
You may even have them thoughts, like, because at the end of the day, sanctification process before we go into that life with God is a continuous journey throughout our lives.
Yep.
So even with your stumbling blocks, he forgives. Even
Yes.
with those, because that's not in a sense where
Thank
you're
you, Lord.
purposely doing it. It's because something inside of you is still attached that needs to be removed. And
Yeah.
only God can do that. And so it's just like it's a continuously process. But like I said, God always sees our hearts. So he's gonna know what you're truly doing inside of being like, oh, so you're taking me for granted. You're
Yes.
taking advantage. He is a just God. He is a righteous God for a reason. For a reason.
Abeyon, you is preaching tonight, baby. Come on, listen. I love it, and I can go on for days with you. And this is why I love the Pretty Girl Progression podcast, because we're here talking about personal growth, spirituality,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, wellness, and that is like the source to be able to share this platform with women like you who can
Thank
just feed into
you.
another woman. So
I
you are
appreciate it.
literally filling my heart with so much joy. But before we go, I
Yes.
just want to ask you, what does pretty girl progression mean to you?
Pretty girl progression is being unstoppable in your own life, in your own spiritual life, in your own journey. It's growing and continuing to grow and never being afraid to share your journey. Never being afraid to tell your testimony. And never being afraid of always trying to figure out what other people think. It's not for them. It's for the people who need it. It's for a bigger assignment other than you.
Amen to that, y'all. Where could the beautiful people find you, support you, reach out to you? Everything will be in the description below, but where would they be able to find you?
Yes, so Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, same handle. Who is Abeyon? Abeyon. You already know how to spell who is. It's me.
Thank you so much for joining. And y'all, if you love this episode, put it in the comment section. Blow
Thank
up the
you.
Instagram. You can follow Pretty Girl Progression on YouTube and all major streaming platforms, audio, Apple, Amazon, all the good things. And as always, queens, love yourself.
Bye.